Hello and welcome back to another Demis Hellen tutorial. We're going to kickstart the weekend by looking at creating a melody. So I know I've done this a few times, but let's just look at a different way of doing it. This is Cubase related. You might be able to do this in other DAWs, but I don't experiment with other DAWs at this time. So you'll be able to find tutorials on that if your DAW does support this. And this is related to using the scale assistant. So this is limited to Cubase 11 and beyond when they do come out. So if you've got 10.5, 10 or 9 or anything like that, you're not going to be able to do this scale assistant part. You can use the chord assistant part, but not the scale. And this is how it looks default. We can go up here, we can draw some notes in, and you can see it puts them there in red. And if we change the velocities, it changes the colour. And this is all good and well if you're using the velocity part and you wanting to see what loudness your notes are, how hard they're being hit, that's absolutely fine. But if you're someone that is struggling with scales and chords, you're not quite there, you haven't got all the theory knowledge and you just want to be able to make sure things are in the right key, this is where the scale assistant comes in. And I'm just going to do a little disclaimer, no one's paying me to say this, this is just something that I'm sharing with you so you can get better melodies out of yourself. So let's start by creating a melody. So I'm going to just play something on the keyboard. We're going to start on G. So this is probably going to be a G natural minor because this is sort of the key that I always tend to sway towards when I'm composing or starting up an idea. Okay, so we'll use that. That is just using certain intervals that I use quite common. So let's just put those in. I'm going to draw them in so you can see exactly what I've done here. And that is exactly what I just played there. Let's just put a bit of rhythm in there. This is a case now, these are showing up as red, and we're only going to see these velocity values here. So let's just go in here, you can see velocity values. So let's undo all of this, and just leave these here. And I'm going to create an extra bar just before this. And this is where I'm going to put the scale. So for now we'll loop this section, and I'll show you the scale that we are using. Now we'll start from G here, and it'll go to the A, and then we'll have a B flat, a C, a D, an E flat, then an F, then a G, and that is our full scale there. So I know this because I've been doing this for quite a long time, and there's certain things that stick in your mind, especially when that is the scale that you gravitate towards. But up here in this corner we have Scale Assistant. As long as you're in the MIDI editor you will see Scale Assistant written here, and it'll be closed probably like that. So jumping in there we can click Use Scale Editor and it'll say choose your scale here. So we know that we're in G, and then we know we're in natural minor, which is known as Aeolian. And changing these, so G to Aeolian, it's still not really doing anything. It's like, how do you know that is that scale? There's nothing to say what's going on. So one thing we can do, we can hit Show Scale Note Guides here, and you'll see these black lines. If I turn this on and off again, you'll see these black lines change position. And instead of these black lines being linked to the black keys of your keyboard, these are going to be linked to the notes that are not in the scale. And as you can see, we've got all of these on the white sections. So that's all good and well, but if you don't have the best monitor in the world, for example, or you've got light glare, it's going to be a bit of a struggle to see that, because you could change the colours scheme of your whole Cubase and have it so it's green and red if you wanted to, just so you can see it better, but it's a lot of effort to go to when we can do something much simpler. So I'm going to turn this off for now. And we're going to jump over to here. Now we can see the word velocity, and that this is going to be related to the velocity sensitivity, so the loudness of your note. And what we can do is we can drop this down and we can change this to pitch, for example, and it'll give us a different colour for each pitch. So we've got G and G both in orange, so it's a good way to identify where certain notes are. But that doesn't mean much to us, just different colours. So jumping in again, we have other options, and right down at the bottom we have scales and chords. And now we can see everything has gone blue. But if we now choose a note that is not in the scale, so let's put this G and sharpen it, it suddenly shows it as a red note, and you know that's not in the scale. So let's demonstrate this a little bit better. Let's just choose G major. And you can see now in this scale, if we ignore these notes over here, this scale, we know that the B flat, the E flat, and the F are in the wrong positions, and all we have to do is adjust them like so, and then we know what notes are in there, so then we can build our chords only using those notes. So I'm going to undo everything here, just put them back to where they were. Moving back across, we're just going to look at these sections. We'll keep this here for reference so we can see that, and we know everything is in the right key because it's all blue. So starting with, let's just get that main rhythm again. Let's get these selected. And we'll copy that same sort of rhythm. And I'll leave that last note out. It's a little bit intrusive into the next chord. So there we are. Let's have a look at how we can choose a pattern, a sequence of events and what sounds right. So we can move these notes around and make it sound pleasing. Just listen and use your ears. That is always a good way. There's no reason why you can't do that. But you can also use a little bit of maths, and we're talking really simple math. We're not talking anything ridiculous here. So we could say, let's pick only 4 notes away from the note that we're using. So for example, here at the end, so 4 notes away from this note here, A, including the A, would be 1, 2, 3 and 4, which leaves you on D. So let's have a listen to that now. So let's try it again somewhere else. Let's see if it works. This doesn't always work all the time, but it's always a good starting point. So counting 4 notes in the scale from this note, which will be 1, including the note we're on, 2, 3, 4. So now we have A. Let's have a listen to that. So there's something there, something does sound right, but maybe it needs to return maybe or something, but we can work that out later on. So we could just use that. That is our chords, and that is the adaptation of the chord for the end, just to swing it back round. So we could build a melody now using this. So I'm going to bring this up another octave. Let's bring it up another octave. So we're building the melody in this region, and we've got the notes to work with directly here. So let's pick here. We could finish the triad chord. So the triad chord is the 3 notes that make a chord, and you can see that is the first part. The next part of that chord is going to be D. And if you don't know much about triad chords, you can do a little bit searching around. We're not going to talk about them in this one. So we can use that as a starting point possibly, and I'm just going to do an offbeat melody for now. So we're going to keep this really simple. And that's starting to work. So let's just drop these an octave down because that's a little bit too high. So that's starting to work quite nicely. So what's the triad of this one? We have C and D, and it's going to be a G is the next note. So now we could either go down or we could go up. And then we have D, G, and this one's going to be A. Well, B flat, should we say. And then this rises back up to F and A, so that's going to be D, which you can see was our 4th note. That was our chord there. And then this bit rises up to D already, so we could just switch places and we could put that down to A. So it's replacing where we've moved here and here, and that might give us something. So let's have a listen. So that's sounding okay. This is not quite working here, and that's because we have chosen the wrong note. So if you already spotted that, let me know down in the comments. This note here, so this should be F, A and C, not F, A and D. And the only reason we know that, if you don't know much about triad chords, is we've already had the G and the B flat and then D as our triad here. This is F and A, so these are 2 notes below. So now let's have a listen. And that is sounding pretty good. There's a little bit of a weird artifacting thing going on here, but that's just the way we've built this. You can hear these are too close and they ramp up to each other. Okay, so let's take a look at removing these. So I'm just going to shift them up an octave, and we're going to copy the top notes of these chords. And we're going to put them 1 octave above. So we've got exactly identical notes here, and I'm going to remove that triad. So now we're only using 2 notes. So there's a G and a B flat, and then we've copied that B flat 1 octave above as well, and that's the same for this one. The E flat is an octave above, and the same with these and these. And now we can work around shifting the notes around. So let's just start the notes either side of that first one. So we're going to do these in blocks of 2. And the first note on either side of this one is C. And the second one is going to be the one, oh, we just want those two to stay there, is the A. So we have a C, a B flat and an A. And these are either side of the first note. These were the starting notes. So we can hear straight away there is now a pattern forming and something memorable can be coming out of this. So if I play this live, just... So we can see we're working in 4 bars here, so it's not going to work. I played them in longer tones. So let's copy these over so we've got the original idea. I'm going to remove these. And I'm going to make these 2 bars long. So now the second chord goes down to here. Let's just make sure that's all right. And let's loop that. So now we have more room to work with. Let's have a play around again. So I'm just going to hit the same notes. And that is simply translating to... This top note is starting right. It drops down here, and then I went down to here and then to G. So you can see we dropped down 1 position, then I dropped down to the F, which is below the chord, but it's still in the scale, and then we meet the original starting point of the chord, which is G, and we have G there. So let's have a listen. So now if we loop that bit, it flows, it sounds natural, and it's starting to become somewhat memorable. It's not the best melody in the world, but I'm trying to demonstrate how these melodies just start to form just based off the natural fall of that scale. And this is why we use different scales to get different effects, because they have different vibes about them. So if you're wanting to get your own style, don't forget to choose keys as well, because certain keys give certain artists a style. And this is part of the process of creating your own style as well. So don't forget, use a key that sits well with you, that you like the sound of. Then that starts to develop your own personal sound along with your sound design as well. And as always, thank you very much for watching. If you have enjoyed the video, leave a comment down below. Also hit the like button and the subscribe button with the bell icon so you get to see when all these videos get uploaded. I've got a few decent videos coming out soon with relation to June 3, so watch out there. That's going to be some exciting stuff, going through some sound design tutorials, etc. And thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.